March the 18th, 2026. Guys, it is 39 degrees outside, real feel 35, and the sun is starting to come up over the eastern horizon. Hope everyone has a great day. A few days ago, I did a video when we were talking about the effects of Paul and how he had basically attempted to destroy everything that Christ had put in place, and he did a very good job on it. I could tell in the comments from this video that about 80% of you guys got it. About 20% of you still were like whining titty babies that the pacifier had been pulled out of your mouth because you believed in Paul more than you did Christ, and you believed in Rome more than you did the Word. But that's on you, not me. And these teachings are going to elevate past that point. So if you're not ready, then that's on you. You can stay in vacation Bible school like we did when we were kids and get some Kool-Aid and cookies at recess. And that's about all you get out of vacation Bible school. And that's about what a lot of people deserve, because they will not open their eyes. So again, this is not about a Q&A. This is about a teaching. So if you want it, here it is. Now, what I'm looking at is John 17:6. And it's very important. John was highly loved by Christ. And 6 says, I have manifested thy name unto men, which thou gavest me out of the world. Thine they were, and thou gavest them to me, and they have kept thy word. Yes, we have. Now, this word, or this section, I have manifested thy name, does that make sense, guys? Because everyone at that time thought Yahweh was the name, or Jehovah. But no, the name Christ was given by our Father was not of this world. And the name that he gave the disciples was not of this world. That's very important, because the entire video about Paul the other day was about how Rome overtook the Christian movement, hijacked it, and then polluted it down to fit the needs of Rome and the Vatican. And people, man, when you tell them that, they start crying, oh, my Vatican, oh, I need my Vatican. And they don't even realize that's what they're doing, but that's what they are doing. But here, this is very important. I have manifested thy name. Now, this thy name comes up several times in John 17. And guys, do you know what John 17 is? It's the prayer of the master priest, and that was Christ. And he's praying to our Father because he knows his days are up physically on earth. And he's said, Father, I've given them your name, not of this world, and they've kept it. And now that I'm leaving, please keep them, protect them, Father. And he was not talking to someone named Yahweh. Okay? So hang in there. And guys, from here on out, we're not going to go backwards. We're going to go forward with this teaching. So the elect, which many of you understand what that means, you will follow this and you will gain something from it. The rest will be passed by. But if you do a check on 3 different words, El Elyon, who was the Most High God, and that's what he was called in the original Hebrew text, then that is the name that Christ used. Yahweh, ancient Hebrew, the sacred tetragrammaton called the self-existence, YHWH. Now the problem was that was again the tetragrammaton until the 13th century. Now this is not that far away, but Yahweh came into effect the 13th century Latin, a hybrid of WHYH plus Adonai contains the word for ruin. In other words, Rome not only hijacked Christ's teachings with Paul, but before that, they had hijacked the real God. And this is more deadly than what Paul did. But people now are understanding how Paul was the Roman rhino, but not many people understand what had happened before that what Rome and the Vatican had done, the synagogue of Satan, to pollute the truth. And we're against that. Now, again, if you look at the word Jehovah, or Yahweh, any way you want to say it. It contains the word for ruin. So when they, in the 13th century, now just go back, think about that. That's not that long ago. But it was YHWH in ancient Hebrew. It was never Yahweh, and that was, they put that in there by adding Adonai. And Adonai was used for the word Lord, and what that did was confuse people. And actually, when you say the word Jehovah, or you pray to Jehovah or Yahweh, you know you're actually praying to a demon. And the church knew this. And so by polluting the word, and every time you say Yahweh or Jehovah, then you are actually, it's an incantation. I'm going to show you that. But again, a hybrid of YHWH plus Adonai. You take the vowels and syllables, put them together, and you've got Yahweh. And it contains a word for ruin. I'm going to show you that real quick. And let's go back to Isaiah 47, guys. This is pretty important. And there's so many puzzle pieces that are overlooked that if you take the time and put your heart into it, you can find these puzzle pieces, and it's very enlightening. Isaiah 47:11, and this is called the humiliation, this chapter subtitled The Humiliation of Babylon. But in 47:11, Isaiah says, or the Lord says to Isaiah, therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come and upon thee suddenly, and which thou shalt not know. Man, that says it all if you understand it. Well, I'm going to try to explain it. Okay, evil's going to come upon you. You're not going to know where it come from. Why? Because you thought it was righteous. You weren't expecting it. And mischief shall fall upon thee. Now, if you look at the word mischief, it's got a Hebrew number right here called H1943. Now, many of you are familiar with the software eSword, and you can click on these numbers and it will give you the actual Hebrew meaning of the word. And H1943, mischief, in Hebrew, it was originally written, means Hova, H-O-V-A-H, Hova. See that? Hova. Another word for ruin or mischief. So when you say a prayer to Jehovah, Rome has tricked you into praying to a false god or to a lesser god. Okay? And actually, Jehovah was one of the sons of El Elyon. You'll learn that also. But again, the word Hova was introduced as mischief and ruin. What does Satan do? Both of those things. He creates mischief and he creates ruin. Let's read it again. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it rises. And ruin shall fall upon thee, and thou shalt not be able to put it off. Why? Because you're so embedded, so brainwashed. I'm not talking, when I say you, I'm not pointing out an individual. People are so brainwashed in the indoctrination over hundreds of years by Rome that it's embedded in them like a tick on a hound dog. You can't get it out. So again, this evil coming, and you're not going to know where it's coming from because you're speaking it and don't know what you're doing. Now, if you want to take the time and do a scan through the Bible, you can do it on just about any software, probably AI. But anyway, the total mentions of Yahweh by Christ is 0. Total mentions of Father by Christ over 100. That's why I always say my Father. Total mentions by the Most High Elyon, it's consistent throughout the Gospels. Now, Christ points it out just before John 17. And the reason Christ points it out, and preachers get it wrong, is that he is teaching to the very end. And the evidence suggests that brainwashing isn't just about what was added to the Bible, but what was silenced. And it was the true name of our Father, and it was replaced by the lesser God that was appointed Israel, Yahweh. But again, that is ruin and mischief. Think about that. Now again, John 17 was the high priest's prayer, the moment the Messiah formally reports back to the Father. If there was ever time to use a supreme name like Yahweh, that would have been it, but he didn't. Instead, John 17 acts as the final debunking of the 2,000-year Roman narrative. Here's how that specific puzzle piece completes the picture. The name was a secret to the world. In John 17:6, he says, I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of this world. The logic, if the name was Jehovah, he wouldn't have needed to manifest it. Everyone in Judea already knew the Tetragrammaton, YHWH, are the substituted titles. It wasn't a name that was not known. Yahweh was known, or it was not known until the 1300s, but the YH or WH was known from back in the Old Testament. And that is the Tetragrammaton, but it does not mean Yahweh. They added the letters in Adonai to make it appear, which is Lord. It makes it appear that Yahweh is the Lord. And so Rome had not only sent Paul in to take away the words of Christ, but they sent in the Yahweh doctrine to make Israel, which was controlled by Rome, not only the universal religion which had been polluted by Rome, but also the God that they're praying to was not our Father. Now let that sink in. If you're going to throw a fit, go ahead and throw a fit and go cry, whatever you want to do. We're teaching truth. If you can't handle it, then deal with it on your own. Anyway, again, the logic, if the name was Yahweh, he wouldn't have needed to manifest or reveal it. Everyone in Judea already knew about YHWH. They had not heard until 1300s when Rome got through with it about Yahweh. And that means basically the God of mischief and ruin. Now look at what has happened to Israel. And here's the saddest part, guys. So many people, they fuss at me when I say, I'm not for Israel. I'm not a Zionist. I have my reasons. It's not just following someone else's thoughts. I follow the word. And so, and people say, well, I support Israel. Who are you supporting? Then look at what they do. The Jews kill Christ. They helped, with the help of Rome, kill him, kill Stephen, and then they had already almost successfully changed the God of Israel. But if you understand that El Elyon appointed Yahweh as the God of Israel, and that was his land, it wasn't the whole world and it wasn't all the people. But it doesn't mean that Yahweh was a good God. He was the God of mischief and ruin. Still is. Look at what's happening in Israel with Bibi now and the bombing. Now, Christ was revealing a named nature that the world, controlled by the systems of Rome and the religious elite, did not recognize. He was reintroducing El Elyon, the Most High Father, who had been replaced by a God of ruin, Hova. He said, and the shield of this is he doesn't ask for protection in the name of Yahweh. He asks for protection in the Father's own name. The trap, if Yahweh contains the frequency of Hova, destruction, mischief, ruin, then praying in that name would actually invite the very ruin believers are trying to avoid. That's the trick of Rome. Now, I know a lot of people are not ready for this message, but I've been awake since 3 o'clock this morning. And the fire was put into me a long time ago, but last night it got worse. And I started on this actually yesterday, and I just grew tired. But this morning, my father would not let me sleep till I got up and did this in my weak attempt compared to what Christ could have done or our Father could have done. But the fire's in me, and I'm going to do it. And guys, that's why Christ came. He said he was coming to bring back the law, to remind the world of the truth. And by pointing it back to the Father, El Elyon, he provides the only spiritual keep or fortress. And if you don't have that, you don't have a keep. You don't have a fortress. You're praying to a God of ruin. Now, the synagogue of Satan knows that if they can switch the identity of the Creator with a linguistic hybrid, that means they have added Adonai to the tetragram or tetragrammaton to come up with Yahweh, they can technically cut off the connection to eternal life by making people know a false identity instead. So you guys out there right now that are blowing fuses, listen to this again. They can technically cut off the connection to eternal life by making people know a false identity instead. Christ's entire mission was to reconnect the branches to the true vine, the Most High El Elyon, bypassing the Roman constructed Yahweh filter. Wake up, people. And in contrast, again, Yahweh is the name of this world. It was manufactured in the 13th century by monks and popularized by Roman-influenced printing presses. The truth, El Elyon, is the name from above the world. And that's the name in the Old Testament. But it's been slowly diluted. They've slowly changed it over to Lord and Adonai. And then by doing that, they changed out El Elyon for their Yahweh, making it appear that Yahweh was the Lord of the world, or the Lord of creation, or the creator of creation. And he's not. Just a mischievous, lesser God. Just like the prince of Persia, you had Yahweh, and he was given Israel. And so when you people are always, I want to go to Israel, guys, you're following a Roman doctrine about a false God. Now, I can prove this, and I'm going to do it, and you can fuss all you want to, and I'm not talking to all of y'all, but because the guys out there that know this, girls and guys, I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to the people that don't know it, and maybe it will bring a few around. Maybe just one, but maybe that one would be worth it. Same way with the video a couple of days ago about Paul. And I told everybody before that video, or in the beginning, that the darts would start flying, and man, they did. Man, when I jerked that pacifier out of their mouth, they went to scrawling and crying like little babies. Oh my God. Oh, really. That really made it terrible. But anyway, the people that understood Paul and what he had done and what Rome had done, you'll understand this too. And you're going into advanced teaching because we're getting into the end times, and Christ wanted you to know this. But by bringing John 17 into this, guys, where we said that Christ has given them a name that God gave him, that El Elyon had gave him, and it is above all. Now, I think everyone should study John 17 very closely because it focuses on the truth, not the world. And again, Jesus said, he's talking to the disciples, he's talking about himself, and he's talking about the name of our Father. He's not teaching about the world. He's teaching about the truth. And so Yahweh is a worldly name, while El Elyon is the set-apart name, the hidden name. But it actually wasn't hidden in the Old Testament. The scribes and the Pharisees did it in the Sanhedrin. Again, Israel is very evil. The people there's some good people in every nation, but look at the leaders. And I'm not bragging on the U.S. either now, but everybody wants to run to Israel, send their money over there, protect them, because Rome deceived them into protecting the devil. Now, the name Yahweh, guys, didn't come up until a very famous fella that only halfway understood the Bible, and so many people believe in him too, but his name was William Tyndale. He has a Bible out. But in 1530, in his translation of the first 5 books of the English Bible, is Exodus 6:3 renders the divine name as Yahweh. Okay, now, that name was never mentioned, Jehovah, Yahweh, none of that, until 1530. Okay, and these people are influenced heavily by Rome and the scribes, the Sanhedrin, and the Pharisees. But again, 1530, guys, Yahweh was not a name known as far as the Father. Yahweh was a lesser God, one of many brothers, and Baal was one of his brothers. Now, about the ninth hour, this is Matthew 7:46, excuse me. About the ninth hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Now, he was on the cross, and his last things he was doing was teaching. And he was reminding the world why he had been sent back, to show you the true God. Now, why didn't he cry out, Yahweh, Yahweh? And look, and the preachers get it wrong, and I had to straighten out probably the largest preacher in this area a few years back, and he kind of melted down in the corner. He has a big, giant church, one of the super churches, I guess you'd say it, and I melted him into the corner with the truth, and he admitted it. He admitted that he had told a lie, and when I caught him, was at a funeral for a friend. And he was talking about, people, don't be sad. Even Jesus doubted our Father. And man, when he said that, I almost stood up in the funeral and went up there and slapped him upside the head and told him to quit lying about my Father. But I didn't. I waited till it was over, and then I got in touch with him back at his church, not at the funeral home, to embarrass everybody. But maybe I should have, but I didn't. But again, about that ninth hour, he cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. And what the preacher was saying was, even he doubted, because this means, El Elyon, why hast thou forsaken me? And what he was doing, he wasn't saying that God had forsaken him or that El had forsaken him. He was quoting David from Psalms, reminding the world of the true name of our Father. It was not the lesser God Yahweh, it was El Elyon. Look it up for yourself. And it uses the similar Aramaic form Eloi, or Eloi, lama sabachthani. Again, my Lord, why hast thou forsaken me? He called him Eli, or El Elyon, E-L. It's there everywhere. So, again, Christ in John 17, the priestly prayer, the greatest prayer ever for me and you. Because Christ said, I'm leaving, but I've told them their name, so keep their name in their heads. And there's a few of you that know it now. If you didn't know it before, then it's starting to kick, because the Word is the most powerful thing in the universe. And who is the living Word? Christ, the El sent. And that's what we're talking about. So again, Christ was not crying out that he had been abandoned. He was still teaching what he had taught the disciples, the true name of our Father. Now, I think is that probably Psalms 22:1, if I'm not mistaken. You can look it up. But it's when a lot of people just read that, my Father, why hast thou forsaken me? Not realizing that he wasn't complaining to our Father. And that what that does is degrade the integrity of our Messiah, Jesus Christ. Making people think he's weak. Another Roman trick, guys, another Roman trick to take away from the power of not only Jesus Christ, but our real Father in heaven. Now, I'm not going to make this any longer, but I think I made my point. We're going to go into it deeper after the shock effect gets through. But guys, I'm not going to go into a Q&A anymore on these Bible teachings. I'm 70 years old. I've been doing this 50 years. Been doing it in the Hebrew for about 40. And I understand what our Father's message is. I understand the evil of Rome, and I understand the evil of Israel, and the scribes and the Pharisees and Paul that murdered Christ. They murdered Stephen. They hijacked Christianity, changed it for Roman rules, and they changed the name of the true God and put in a lesser God. And people still, oh, I love Israel, I'm sending my money over there. Well, send them to a false God of ruin and destruction. If you want to, go live there. Why did Christ say, get the hell out of there when you see these things coming? And why do you think it's going to be overrun, a wasteland, ruin and destruction? Because people are calling on the name of Yahweh, the God of ruin, instead of El Elyon. Again, guys, sun's coming up pretty good now. I'm going to get some coffee, and you digest this. And if I'm a little rough around the edges on this, maybe it needed to be that way. But let me tell you one thing. I love all of y'all, and I'll take the darts and whatever else is slung my way, but I'm not going to tell you a lie about our Father. It's a heads up, guys. Be safe.